Phoenix Down Radio is on the air. With your hosts,
Klaus Nightbringer,
Seyrr Kimono,
Chili,
and Luna Vox.
Welcome everybody to Phoenix Down Radio, episode number 57. How's everyone doing today?
pretty decently.
Yay! As a lot of you can hear, we are down one Luna Vox. She's not feeling well tonight. She's got a case of the sore throat, so we hope you feel better soon, Luna. And hopefully maybe she'll join us in the chat. We'll have to see if she's resting or not, but otherwise, we hope you feel better soon. So how was your guys' Thanksgiving, huh? Or Chili, for you, how was your Thursday?
I went down to visit my parents and we went to a really nice steakhouse.
Steak for Thanksgiving?
Yes. Yeah. It's kind of amazing.
Okay. That's good, I guess.
None of us are really all that into turkey. So.
No, it's just funny that turkey is like such a synonymous thing with Thanksgiving when it really doesn't have to be. You know, they had lobster and stuff at the first Thanksgiving, I think, didn't they? And clams and
possibly, yeah. There would have been a lot more seafood, and I know certainly around where I live, there's like a much larger Mexican population, so you have a lot more things like tamales and the like. The traditional Thanksgiving we get that people envision is really kind of arbitrary.
Yeah, it's kind of something that's been created over the past few decades, I guess, and evolved into the turkey and stuffing and cranberries that we have now.
Yeah. There's a lot of really interesting stuff about the history of Thanksgiving, actually.
Yeah. And speaking of, Vivi says he prefers chicken. Chili, you had chicken just because of that, didn't you?
Yeah, I had chicken because it was easier and cheaper, and I like it more.
Did you get a cheeky Nando's?
No, but I'm thinking about getting a cheeky Nando's next month when I go see Star Wars. So I've decided I'm going to go see it.
Oh, God, I want to see Star Wars so bad.
Still sounds like a euphemism for something or another.
Well, it probably is, but still, he's going to Nando's.
Yep.
And doing the thing. So, yeah, I did my Thanksgiving last weekend, and I had 19 people at my house. It was a little bit crazy, but I made two turkeys. I made a whole bunch of Brussels sprouts. I made sweet potatoes. I made 2 pies, baked 2 loaves of bread. I made a bunch of cranberries, and it was delicious.
All turned out all right then?
Oh, yeah, everything was very good. My sister brought some corn. My sister-in-law brought some salads, and my parents brought wine. Because I guess that's what parents do. They bring wine to get their kids drunk or something.
All I know is 1 month till Christmas, and my favourite food at Christmas.
What's that?
Pigs in blankets.
But you do them differently than we do. For us, a pig in a blanket is a little sausage wrapped in like a puff pastry. But for you guys, it's wrapped in bacon, isn't it?
Yep.
So slightly different, but still both tasty.
You could totally do bacon and puff pastry.
Ooh, that would be amazing.
Good. That sounds amazing.
There you go.
And also Christmas pudding because you set it on fire. That's the best part of it.
I've had those.
Just make sure that you don't set your house on fire when you do that.
Well, no, what you do is you pour a little brandy on the pudding itself, and then you set the brandy on fire.
Little?
Yeah. And then
we don't do things little here. Come on.
And you carry it on a platter, and it blazes merrily. And they did it at Magical Feast back when I was in college. It was always like the best. Well, the salmon was the best part, but the pudding was the second best.
And then you trip over something and then you end up it flies everywhere, and then there's flaming brandy all over the place, and the house starts on fire, and you call the fire department, and yeah.
You know, plenty of people manage to flambe food without setting their house on fire. It's a thing.
Yeah, even I can do it, and I'm clumsy as hell. And yes, you're right, Moogle. A pastry it'd be a sausage roll then, if you did that.
Oh, okay. You guys have some weird names for stuff. You're funny.
What's so weird about a sausage roll? It's a sausage rolled in pastry.
Oh, yeah. That was actually in FF11. There was a sausage roll, which was a sausage and then like a pastry around it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Do you guys get any cool deals on Black Friday?
I went to see a movie. I got a deal on staying the hell out of the way of other people.
That's a good thing. I stayed away from the physical stuff too. It was just too much work.
I spent money on the Gacha game I play.
Oh, yeah, I suppose a lot of the games had Black Friday deals too. I saw Brave Exvius had one where you could get some in-game items for in-game currency. So,
yep, Record Keeper had a Black Friday lucky draw where you had a guaranteed 3 Soulbreak relics.
Yeah, and I ended up getting 2 materia ones. I don't remember which they were though.
This one had 3 discount summons, and then the 4th one's free. So
okay,
nice. I got 2 USBs in a burst, and one of them was for Sephiroth, who I have a bunch of other stuff for, so I'm pleased with that.
Very cool. And let's see, what else happened? Well, everybody hates me a little bit. If you guys are aware, there was a Duty Commenced episode on Wednesday. And you know these things. They showed off Rival Wings, which we'll talk about a little bit in the game news. But at the end, they usually give away, you know, a plushie or something like that. And, well, I won another one. And they're like, God damn it. So I got I'll be getting one of the plush wind-up pointers here soon. But
weren't they originally from FanFest?
No, those are inflatable.
Inflatable.
Yeah, this is a plush one.
I found my old FanFest USB charger, by the way.
Oh, the one from 3 years ago, huh?
Yeah.
Cool. But I wasn't as lucky as Fusion X was. He actually won one of the DX Racer chairs.
Oh, those look so nice.
I know. I so want one of those. They look really cool. But maybe next time. Maybe next time. Seyrr, you've been doing some crazy things in the game.
It's not that crazy. I finished my 8th Zeta.
That's the definition of crazy right there.
No, that'll be when I finish the 10th one. I'm in the midst of the 9th now.
I thought didn't you have to get to like 13 though?
No, there's only 10 for the Zodiac Zetas. It's 13 for the Animas. Where's my spreadsheet on that? I've got 2 of those done.
Of course you have a spreadsheet.
Of course I have a spreadsheet. That's how this works. But yeah, about 4 at the sharpened stage. Another 3 that are moving along through that. Couple of those item sets ready.
You're crazy, man. You're just crazy.
But they're so pretty.
All right. Anyway, I also want to throw out a quick shout out and congratulations to our friend and supporter of the show, Aurori. Her ceremony of eternal bonding was today. So congratulations on that. I apologize that I didn't make it. I was a little busy trying to get some show stuff done, and I was with family as well. So I apologize I didn't make it, but
I was actually there for it. It was a lovely occasion. Bride and groom both looked very radiant, all the usual good stuff. People were having a lot of fun.
That's cool. I'm very glad you guys had a good time and glad it was fun.
But where was my invite?
Did you check your mailbox?
Oh.
Probably not.
Awkward.
All right. And just want to say this right away with our discussion topic tonight. We will be taking listener calls tonight. So like I said, if you want to go ahead and join us, and you're watching us live here at twitch.tv/PhoenixDownRadio, please feel free to click on that Discord link down below the stream, or go to PhoenixDownRadio.com/Discord in your browser, and you'll be invited to the Phoenix Down Radio Discord server, and then you can go to, what channel is it? The call-in channel, and queue up and let us know what you want to talk about for your favorite moment in Final Fantasy or favorite game, whatever you want to talk about, because that's what we're gonna be discussing tonight. With Final Fantasy being 30 years old this year, we're gonna talk a little bit about some of our favorite moments in the past 30 years.
Like, it's old enough to have its own disrespectful punk children.
Yeah, you're not wrong. It does have its own disrespectful punk children. Just look at Lightning and Noctis.
Awkward.
Well, but true.
Yeah, can't argue with that.
Speaking of awkward, World of Final Fantasy is now available for PC through Steam. I know there have been a few streamers that have been playing that. I got it for PS4, so I'm not going to pick it up on PC too. Anybody?
It is
Go ahead.
It is a pretty cute game.
It is.
It is just fun and silly. The main characters have hilarious chemistry with each other.
There's certain things that I can't get the over. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, like, even as like a cutesy mascot character, it's still not too bad. But it's definitely something that takes getting used to.
But listening to her, the talk can get to be the very bad and kind of the annoying.
I don't know. I seem to be all right with it.
Oh, hey, Tingle.
Right. But so that's available. If you didn't get it for the PS4, you don't have a PlayStation 4, but you've got a PC, you can check that out on Steam. We'll talk a little bit of Final Fantasy 15 news now. Like we mentioned last week, the Comrades multiplayer is now live. I believe it. What does it cost if you don't have the season pass? Do you guys know?
I have no idea. I have the season pass.
Same. If somebody knows what the cost on
$20.
$20?
Rightly. Yeah.
Really? Just get the season pass. It saves you a lot of money.
Yeah, season pass is $25.
Exactly. Plus, you get all the episodes with it too. So yeah,
Even though there's still no cooking minigame.
Yeah, then there won't be, unfortunately, either. We'll talk about that in a second.
The worst.
Yeah, it is the worst.
It is the worst.
But also released recently is the VR fishing game Monsters of the Deep. If you have PlayStation VR, you can go pick that up in the PlayStation Store for $30. That seems a little bit high to me. And it's not included in the season pass. This is a separate standalone game.
Yeah, I'm going to have to buy it.
Yeah, I suppose, Chili, you do have a VR, don't you?
Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
Chili, you need to keep talking and no one explodes.
Oh, God.
I was just playing it with a friend recently. It's amazing.
I need another Move controller. I've only got one. That's the reason why I don't have Skyrim yet.
Though if you've been thinking about getting VR, I've heard that the first generation PSVRs are now $200, so it's a pretty decent savings if you want to jump into it.
Well, they have that bundle for, I don't know how much it is in America, but I think it was £250 here, where you got Skyrim and GT Sport and the VR headset and two Move controllers.
I haven't seen anything like that here. So, they're also going to have a first year anniversary active time report broadcast on November 29th, which I believe is this coming Wednesday, at 8 a.m. Eastern time. So if you want to get up nice and early and listen to that, you can listen to them discuss how players are enjoying the new multiplayer mode as they talk about the new upcoming episode Ignis, and it's not going to be Cooking Mama. I'm sorry, Seyrr.
Aww.
Worst.
I've done it.
I've come up with a new minigame.
And they're going to
so much potential.
They're also going to go over a player survey that they had asked. They'd started back in February, I think, discussing new content people would like to see moving forward in the game. Like they're going to talk about what episodes they want to develop in the future. I was doing a little reading, and it sounds like they're talking about maybe doing an episode on Luna Freya.
Oh, Luna Vox. I didn't know.
Yeah, on Luna Vox. Yes, Luna Vox is going to have her own mini episode on Final Fantasy 15. But
I'd buy that for several dollars.
All the dollars, right?
I was going to say I'd buy that for $1, but that just sounds too cheap. So
yeah, Luna's worth more than that.
Several hundred.
There was also
nice DLC. So
yeah, there was also some talk of maybe doing an Arden story, but that's going to be probably more of a movie or cinematic type thing.
I'm vaguely reminded of, I want to say it was Suikoden 3, where you could actually get a little bonus thing where you got to see the story from the perspective of the villains, where it was more largely movie-ish, but there were a couple playable bits.
Okay. We'll have to see
some
what
of
comes
those some of those impossible curb stomp battles, you got to go through them again from the other side.
Interesting.
It was an interesting game in general.
All right. Also, to go along with all of this, there is a new Final Fantasy 15 crossover event within Final Fantasy Brave Exvius right now, the mobile game. You can currently recruit Core, Gladio, and Iris to join the fight with you. So if you play FFBE, which I kind of haven't done much, but yeah. It is what it is. What can you do? I did just get Iris though on an 10+1 draw. Oh yeah, Leek, that's right. Noctis is going to be in the new Tekken. I don't know how I feel about that.
It looks amazing. I like the fact he's got a full campaign by looks of things as well.
But I don't know. Tekken's just kind of lost a lot of it for me. A lot of the fighting games have.
The only fighting game I'm really looking forward to is Dissidia and
yep.
And Dragon Ball Z Fighters, because that looks amazing.
I want that fighter that they teased. What was it, 2 years ago? For April Fools.
Yeah.
I want that fighter. That
Wait, which one?
Don't you remember the fighting game where you had Livia and the twins and Gaius and everybody fighting each other, and then it ended up being this big giant troll fest?
Yeah. Oh, that could have been amazing.
So.
Truly, Gon and Link have been in Tekken, so.
Yeah, and there have been a lot of really weird crossovers in the fighting games. I mean, look at Smash Brothers had Snake and Link, and let's see.
Didn't Cloud eventually show up in Smash
Cloud
Brothers?
was in there as well. I think Soul Calibur had Link and Darth Vader. Or was it Yoda?
Yoda, Link, and Darth Vader, I think. Or is it? Yeah.
It was just some really odd combinations, but it is what it is. Yeah.
I mean, one of the Marvel vs. Capcom games had Phoenix Wright. The lawyer dude.
Yeah.
Objection!
That was yet one of his moves, yes. I am absolutely delighted by this, but...
All right. Moving on to Final Fantasy XIV news. Let's start with Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood won the Game Debate Award for Best Expansion this year. So congrats to that. That was just announced this week.
Good solid work there, guys.
Yep. What the fuck is wrong with Kotaku?
Oh my god, do we have to talk about that?
We're going to talk about it a little bit because it's relevant.
I object to the idea that Kotaku is relevant.
Okay, they're not relevant, but the fact that the story is recent is the only relevant part.
I think Kotaku argues the fact that they're not relevant anymore themselves.
I mean, this is something that Seyrr Sephiroth and Bahamut would put in the Crucible, not in what used to be a somewhat reputable gaming site, Kotaku.
You know, things are bad when they say that I'm a better source than them.
Chili, you are a better source. Because you're at least honest.
That wasn't even journalism.
No. Well, the first one was absolute clickbait because that was freaking dumb. The fact that they're...
More like clickbait.
Yeah. The second article, though, I actually did read that, and that was an interesting read. I will say that. It was a good article. You know, talking about different types of role play within, and they used Final Fantasy as the example. But
it still seemed a lot of the, hey, let's write something really salacious.
Yeah. They were using the subject matter to get clicks. I mean, let's face it, they were talking about ERP just so they can get extra clicks. Like, ooh, what are they talking about here? The biggest reason why I read it is because it involved the free company here on Hyperion, Lust. One that Luna was a part of. I was doing some talking with Luna before the show about this. I wanted to hear her take on all of this, but it sounds like we'll maybe dig deeper into this later on, and we may actually have the opportunity to talk with some of the people from Lust about it if they're willing to. So,
yeah, we'd definitely like to dive into this a little bit deeper. It's a little frustrating to see.
That's what she said.
I was gonna say that's what she said.
But then they not only did they have the two articles, but they also then had a video which I did not watch at all because I think
Wait, it had a video?
Yes, there was a video as well.
I can't imagine that ends well.
No.
That's what she said.
This one, I think it's just them. They're running out of good ideas, and they're just using the subject of ERP to try and get a bunch of quick click-through ad traffic, because they must be struggling pretty bad. Right?
And it's a surefire, oh, look at the freaks. Look at how weird they are.
Ooh, they're doing the ERPs. Yeah, they're creepy. I mean, the article that I read actually did shed some good light on it. I did enjoy that, so I forget the author's name. Good job on that article. Everything else, Kotaku, you should be ashamed of yourselves. All right. But we'll move on from that. We might readdress this at a later date, but we do have something else that was slightly disappointing to talk about, and that's patch 4.15.
Yeah, God, I saw those previews. It's like, okay, we've got the rifle wings, we've got the perform actions, and there'll probably be something else, right?
Right? Yeah, I was hoping we'd get surprised with relic weapon, but
I mean, I wasn't even expecting anything that big, but just like anything else.
I knew it would be Relic because they're saving Relic for Eureka. So
well, I was hoping, because I knew Relic armor is coming with Eureka, and I had heard through the grapevine they were talking about separating the Relic weapon from Eureka because it's been delayed. But apparently that was just something that was hearsay. So
yeah,
I heard about it, but kind of never heard it from an official source, so I didn't believe it.
I was just hoping. We can hope, can't we?
I think a lot of people were hoping.
But okay, let's talk about what we did get. We did get Rival Wings, which is a pretty fun MOBA-style PvP map. If you haven't played it yet, you can unlock it by going to the Wolves' Den, and you talk with a little goblin, and you unlock it. That's it.
Yep, it's a fairly simple unlock like most of the other PvP quests.
Basically, you go in, you collect ceruleum to be able to summon Machina, you take down towers, and you destroy your enemy core. That's the gist of it.
And then you ride around on Brute Justice.
Yes.
Or what I do is just stand in the middle, running around picking up the orbs, and then not realizing what you're doing, and then you win.
Because you gave your team all the orbs, and they were running Brute Justice?
Yeah, and then piss off the other person that's doing it with you.
Yeah.
There was me and another Lalafell that were running around collecting the ceruleum. And our team was like, "Oh yeah, good work, Chili. Good work, Chili. You're doing awesome, Chili. You're doing brilliant, Chili. Good work, Chili. Thanks, actually." And the person next to me is thinking, "I'm doing it also."
Yay! But yet, to answer your question, Moogle Quest, yes, there actually is player versus player combat. You can fight people as your characters. You can also get into the Machina, like you can get in Cruise Chaser, which is very good against infantry, against other players, as well as against the what do you call them? The
towers?
No, it's not very good against the towers. It's an anti-infantry one.
The mammoths.
Thank you. Yes, the mammoths.
And yeah, in fact, my understanding is that a very important part of the strategy is as the people who aren't in the Machina helping to guard and escort them so they can get to their objectives.
Yep, as well as you also want to escort the oppressors, because the oppressors are frickin' slow, but those are great against the towers and the core. I mean, you get to shoot the giant fucking missile, for crying out loud. That part is amazing. The 3,000 tons missile. Oh, that is just a big chunk of HP on those towers that goes down when you hit it. Love it.
After the number of times we've had to face off against those in Alexander, being on the launching end of one might be nice.
Oh, it's gorgeous, I tell you that much.
But does it play the music?
Yes, it does.
It does?
Yep.
That's amazing.
You get forward and back in a Cruise Chaser. You get the oppressor music in the oppressor, and you get Brute Justice in Brute Justice. Yes. I have not been able to ride into Brute Justice yet, because you're limited to only 2 ever within a map. You get one when your first tower is destroyed, and you get a second when your second tower is destroyed.
So you only get Brute Justice as an option when you're starting to be on the ropes a bit.
That's correct. And
then it comes to save the day.
Just like it's... What should we say? North America, USA, USA.
No.
I feel awkward about that.
All right.
Remember FanFest?
Yes, I know. I know exactly what you're talking about, Chili, but we're ignoring it.
I'm just going to sit here and feel awkward.
So basically how it works is there's two sides. There's the Ravens and the Falcons. The teams are split up
Go Johnny
as
Falcons.
6 4-man teams. So you can have up to 6 Machina out at a time. Each team can have 1 out. You build up.
No role restrictions within your team. I think you can
Correct.
actually change jobs reasonably freely.
Yep, on the pad. So when you're in the back, you can change your jobs. And then, like I said, you can have up to 2 oppressors out at a time. And I think up to 4 cruise chasers. And then, like I said, you're limited to only 2 instances of brute justice ever.
Right.
So, with that, like I said, it's fun. I've done it a couple of times. And if you get 100 wins, you can get a Mecha Harambe mount.
Oh, God, you had to go there.
I did. Yeah.
I was thinking of Winston. Mecha Winston.
I don't know who you're talking about, and I'm worried.
Yeah, who's Winston?
It's the ape from Overwatch.
Don't play Overwatch.
Yes, Lisa.
Okay.
It's the Mecha Grood, for those who watch The Flash. Or okay. Anyway,
It's our own mini King Kong.
all right. The Perform system, it's very rough, but it's fun.
Yeah. And they explicitly said that they pushed it to release early in a rough form, and they're going to be improving it.
So what we currently have is we get 3 octaves to work with, and each note can be placed on a hotbar, and you can assign a hotkey or click on it. So then you can use those to play 1 note at a time. There's currently no sustaining notes, and there's no chords. But Yoshi P did say that they're working to create a new HUD just for Perform actions, so we don't have to mess up our current hotkeys and things like that. And they're going to be continuing to expand upon this, like with new instruments, and they might look into chords and things of that nature. So this isn't the final iteration of Perform. But with that said, there's been a lot of amazing things that have come out of the community so far.
Yeah, I've seen original works posted, lots of fun little snippets of tune. People got into it really, really fast.
And you knew they would. This community is just amazing when it comes to coming up with content. But I'm going to say this. Square Enix is way too much on cover your ass with the making you actually click on I agree not to play third-party music, blah, 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 don't record this and that.
I mean, it really is a cover your ass type thing. It's unlikely that anything would come of it, but if someone actually does file a DCMA complaint or other takedowns like that, they do not want to be in the middle of that. I can understand why they'd want to be very preemptively covering that.
Yeah, it's just kind of scary, but
Yeah.
It is what it is. It hasn't stopped a lot of people, but Yoshi is pleading for the people who have been putting stuff out there, please take it down. But we all know how that's going to work.
Yeah.
I
mean, he cannot be seen at any point to be giving any kind of tacit approval to it.
Yeah. But like I said, I do think that this constitutes fair use. But like I said, I am not a lawyer.
I really don't know if the analysis shakes out that way.
Well, I mean, just my thought on it. I mean, if you think about it, it is a cover. It is
covers are not always fair use.
But I mean, it is. What's the word I'm trying to think of here? Help me out here, Seyrr.
It's not necessarily transformative. It's a major issue here.
I think it is. I mean, you're using a video game system to do this. Not. I mean, it'd be similar to like using Mario Paint.
But just transposing onto a new instrument is not necessarily transformative. Like, I know that you can never be sure until you actually get in front of the judge to argue it for copyright cases, but I would not want to try to argue this case.
Yeah, well, I suppose you could always reach out to the copyright holders and say, hey, I play this game, and then we can play this music. Can I play your music and put it up on my YouTube page as long as I don't monetize it?
I mean, that's always some copyright holders might even be okay with that, as with you monetizing it. As long as you've got the okay of the copyright holder, none of that other stuff even matters.
Yeah, because I know 90% of the people who are doing this don't probably have a large enough following to monetize at this point. But I mean, there's a few that may.
Monetization, not monetizing it does not also does not necessarily make it fair use.
Yeah, I know.
It's a complex field of law.
It's creepy, it's scary, but it is what it is.
Also, we haven't gotten to like what is my favorite part of all this, which would be the picture that Soken posted on Twitter of himself buying a bar jump potion so that he could unlock the performance actions.
That was pretty fucking cute.
Oh, Soken, we love you.
You are silly. All right, and then last but not least, we just got news that the Dragon Quest crossover event is coming back. Similar to the Final Fantasy XI event that's currently going, if you've done everything from the past event, there's not going to be anything new for you. It's basically just for new players and people to get their alts through. So yeah, so look forward to that. If you didn't get a chance to do it, you didn't get your Jiggly Slime King hat from before, now's your chance to get it again. All right, anything that I missed?
I'm reading this thing on Reddit right now where it looks like Yoshi P's pretty much confirmed submarines for 4.2.
I'd heard some glimmers about that, but nothing solid.
Well, there was the mention of that in the that Japanese interview that we talked about 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the idea being, hey, you've got company crafting in Heavensward, which was this flying-focused one. We had the airships, and like, hey, what are we doing for the underwater one?
And someone asked about job emotes, and they thought about maybe doing old dungeons to get them. And one person suggested 100 runs of Auron Vale, and then they said, no!
And again, I say, and unsub and delete, and no. I guess we'll have to see what comes of that. I just hope that they don't make us build brand new things within the free company workshops just to have them become useless again.
Can I have my submarine be blue though, and then I can live in it?
No, I want it to be yellow.
And we're violating copyright again.
No, I just want to change it to yellow. That's all I said.
I think we're okay under parity.
All right. So with that, last week, or at the end of the last episode, we asked all of you guys to email us or talk with us through social media about what some of your favorite moments were in the Final Fantasy series. Now, with Final Fantasy celebrating its 30th anniversary this year, and Final Fantasy 15, working on its 15th anniversary this year, we thought we'd ask the question.
You mean Final Fantasy 11?
Yeah.
I was going to say...
Yeah, Final Fantasy 11, sorry. Too many numbers in my head.
Has not been out for 15 years.
It's only been out for a year, though.
Time travel. It's been around since it was actually the first Final Fantasy game.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, sorry. Final Fantasy 11 celebrating 15 years. Too many numbers in my head. And Final Fantasy 15 celebrating its 1 year anniversary on November 29th.
Has it been a year already?
Yes, it has.
Where does the time get to?
It goes down the drain. And kind of wibbly and wobbly.
I don't want to think about that right now.
So with that, we asked you guys what got you hooked on Final Fantasy. And we also then asked before the show if you want to come talk to us live here on the show, that we're going to be taking calls. We do have somebody waiting in the call-in channel, and I'm waiting to see if he was ready to go. So Talon Marvelous, if you are ready, let us know so I can bring you down. Otherwise, I will start by reading the first email that we got. I think we'll do that. First email came from our friend Mithrin Scarlet from Gilgamesh, and it's a long one. Seyrr, you want to read it?
Give me just a moment. I'm commenting about the submarine minigame in FF7. God, that was such a neat little game, and they only had that brief moment of it. Anyways, so let's see. Hi, PDR. As always, feel free to summarize as you see fit. Please don't feel the need to read this email word for word, as I already write long ones. Always write long ones. You got it. So let's see. Talking about the question about what got you into FF, meaning all of them, not just 11 or 14. Played very first ones when first memories were when it was 4 on the NES back in 1994. Man. Speaking of Seyrr, I certainly remember I got my NES back when I was 6. That was a few years prior to that, of course, but it's definitely something where even that early, it is a big formative memory, isn't it? The very first. What pronouns am I using, by the way? Male or he or she?
Male.
Okay. I always like to check these things. The very first games that he remembers beating were the first Zelda game, Dragon Warriors, Super Mario Brothers, Castlevania, Metroid, and of course FF1. Remembers talking about his party composition in FF1 before making it with my brothers, and they were talking about the pros and cons of every job. His brothers tended to prefer double fighter comps with a white mage and red mage, but he wanted to bring a thief along in order to use magic for AoE in the late game, but also being able to use lots of weapons.
All right,
and a lot of that
let's skip a little bit here.
Yeah, a lot of that early theory crafting, going into all the minutiae, even with just those simple little options there.
4 red mage party, woo! Anyway.
Yeah, and so that actually being one of the things where his preferred party composition did actually end up coming out of that. About how he was able to do way much better than they were. And a lot of that being even in 14, Paladin, White Mage, Black Mage, and Ninja being his favorite jobs to play, and in part of that being the nostalgic appeal. Didn't play, got to play FF6, and all of the ones after that, wasn't able to play 4 back when it first came out. And it was Final Fantasy VIII that the games actually belonged to him and not to one of his older brothers. Didn't really like the gameplay or system mechanics of 8, but really liked Squall just as kind of like a role model, looking at the character, looking how he dealt with situations. And that's something you saw a lot more with a lot of those later games where they were able to develop the characterization a bit more. That's like, hey, here's someone that you can think about how they would handle it. You could envision them as a person. Speaking for Seyrr here, I certainly liked a lot of the earlier games, but some of the characterization was a bit shallow. It was a bit hard to see them as specific people.
Well, you forgot to mention that 8 was special also because they got on their 9th birthday, and it came out on 9/9/99, so a lot of 9s.
Ah, yes. And so loves playing Squall in the Dissidia PSP games. Favorite FFs overall being Dimensions 7, 6, and 9. I've never actually played Dimensions. Is it any good?
I haven't either.
And tends to think of 11 and 14 separately from the main series, as MMOs just being kind of on a different level than single-player games.
True.
Played 11 starting around when Wings of the Goddess came out.
Which was some of the best stuff, I thought. I liked the whole time thing, which was fun.
Yeah, they played with it in some interesting ways in that one. Wanted to be a Red Mage sub Dark Knight who focused on melee.
Yeah, that never happened.
Yeah, Red Mage Dark was a thing, but that was mostly for chain spell stuns.
Yeah, very specialized endgame stuff.
Yep. And so ended up playing that Dark Knight as the main for that.
But you can also couldn't you do Red Mage, Black Mage for that too?
Black Mage didn't get stuns at sub level.
Oh wait, they got it at 42, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Dark Knight had it early enough.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
And really enjoyed the besieged and campaign battles in Wings of the Goddess, and hoping that F14 gets something like that.
That was treasures, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was treasures.
Well, Besieged had treasures. Wings of the Goddess had campaign battles.
Yeah.
And
wait, was Wings after treasures?
Yeah.
Which was after treasures.
Oh, okay. See, I was thinking they were reversed, but yeah. So then, Besiege was still there.
Yep. And it closes by summarizing that FF was one of the very first games that he played and beat when he was a little kid on the NES. That being able to do his own party selection, choosing Thief over what his brothers were doing, made him feel empowered, and just the whole experiences with Squall as like this model to work off of throughout his childhood. He highly recommends giving Dimensions a try if you love classic FS. Replays it at least twice a year for about 4 years now and never gets tired of it. And then he wants me to not forget that PDR is Problematic Dick Radio, home of Context Boobies 2017. You made me read this for that, didn't you?
Yep.
Oh my god, I hate you.
Genius, right?
Ugh.
Next level.
And he threw in a YouTube link to an OC remix piece of a Final Fantasy X's Seyrr theme.
Yep, we will link that in the show notes so everybody can listen to that. Actually, I can also probably link it. If Sarah, you want to link it in the Twitch chat as well? People who want to go listen to it.
OC remix tends to do really good stuff.
I listened to it. It was very chill. So thank you, Mithrin. Really do appreciate all of that. A lot of fun. Long emails as normal, but we like how really into it you've been. So thank you so much for that email. Thank you always for your support of the show. You're one of the people who really do support us, and we do love that. So I was very happy to see that you wrote to us and read that, and we were able to happily read that. So without further ado, we're going to bring in a guest. I'd like to welcome our good friend and supporter of the show, Votalison. Hey, buddy, how's it going?
Yo.
How's it going?
Hey, there he is. Welcome. How's your trip, man?
Trip is going amazingly well, having a total blast.
Why don't you tell everybody where you're at?
Because I'm spending too much money on video games. So I'm spending a week in Tokyo doing everything nerdy that I didn't get to do last time I lived here for a few months.
We hate you.
I hate you so much.
I think you're perfectly pleasant.
Thank you, Seyrr. So for that compliment, I actually have something that you are going to really like.
Woohoo!
There is, as a lot of people know, there's a Cafe Eorzea. There's two, one in Osaka and one in Akihabara.
Mm-hmm.
They have a contest right now for designing a new menu item.
Ooh.
Ooh.
It's kind of difficult. You have to submit just the ingredients. You don't submit like how you cook it or anything. You submit like a picture of it and an ingredients list, and that's it.
Huh.
That sounds odd.
You also have to submit like your character name and a bunch of other weird stuff and like how it links to Final Fantasy. It's very confusing.
Yeah, that's a little weird.
But I'm sure there's
going
going
to
to
do that max level culinarian quest in real life. There it is.
Huh. Maybe some kind of fondue.
Now you got Sarah thinking we've lost him for the rest of the show. Thanks a lot.
I knew I was throwing a match in a gas can, and it was totally going to be worth it.
All right. So, like I said, you're going to the Eorzea Cafe tomorrow. Is that correct?
I'm going to Cafe Eorzea tomorrow. I met up with a few people on a Facebook group. They started doing FF14 meetups around the world, and we actually did a meetup yesterday in a park in Shinjuku. And then I went to Cafe Artnia the day before. We went to the SE Cafe yesterday, and I'm going to the Cafe Eorzea tomorrow.
So you're going for the trifecta.
I have nothing else to spend my money on, apparently.
You can bring back some awesome stuff for us.
I'm already looking into that. Don't worry about it.
I'm teasing. Teasing. But yeah, that'd be cool. Anyway, I'll send you my address later. No.
I already got an address from Emmy and Sakura, so.
Well, okay.
Yeah, send me your address, man. I've actually got stuff like slated for a bunch of people, so
okay.
Go nuts.
I'll shoot you a DM with that information, I guess, later on. But anyway, we're here to talk about Final Fantasy.
Your DMs there.
Giggity. What was your first Final Fantasy?
So my grandfather borrowed an NES game from one of his coworkers, and the label had been completely destroyed, so I had no idea what it was. And he tried to play it, and he couldn't figure it out. So, of course, he hands it to me, the brilliant 4-year-old, and he's like, you can figure this out. And it naturally ended up being Final Fantasy 1. I, of course, had no idea because the game was imported and everything was in Japanese.
Are you serious?
They handed that to a 4-year-old?
That's amazing.
And I think I got the pirate ship, and it took me like an entire day to get there because I had no idea what was going on. But I remember getting that far by myself, the game, of course, went back to my grandfather's coworker. I had no idea what it was. Started talking to my friends about it. Somebody knew what it was, and they were able to track down a copy of it for me.
Wow.
Still in Japanese?
No, thank God it was in English. I was actually able to play it. But
what year was that?
1988, 89, somewhere in there.
Okay, because I know it came out in the U.S. in 1990. So.
Yeah, I was 4. It was just after Christmas, so I guess it would have been 88 or 89, somewhere in there.
But yeah, and then getting it a couple years later, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then from there, it was like, okay, I want to play more of this game. And then there was nothing. And then Final Fantasy 2/4 happened, and I went, oh, okay, great. But I went Sega at that point and didn't have a SNES, so I basically had to kind of wait until I could like loan my Sega Genesis to a friend, and he would loan me his Super Nintendo, and we could switch consoles for a couple of weeks.
Gotcha.
The console wars were a cruel, cruel time.
Especially when like we were all kids and we were 10 years old. We didn't have a lot of disposable income to just go buy everything we wanted. So it was a lot of console trading, a lot of game trading.
Oh yeah, I definitely remember all of that too. I mean, we'll talk about that when we get to some of our personal stories as well. But so is that like also kind of your favorite moment when it comes to Final Fantasy, or?
I think my favorite moment was, I mean, my favorite moment was the first time I saw the opera in Final Fantasy VI, because I was so amazed at what was happening inside of a video game. But I think my favorite Final Fantasy memory might actually be from Final Fantasy XI. Myself and 2 friends wanted to get the game the day it came out, so we all went to GameStop and we all bought a copy of the game, and then we stopped and realized that we needed to buy each other Christmas presents. So I handed my bag to my buddy Chris, and then Chris handed his to Andy, and then Andy handed his to me. I'm like, all right, sweet, we're done. And we just went home to go play.
Aww. That is
actually
adorable.
Early Christmas for you guys?
We like, Chris and I bought Andy's gift, and Andy and I bought Chris's gift. That was the excuse that we came up with. Of course, we installed the game, and it was 11 back in 2001 or whatever, and we couldn't play together because we couldn't be on the same server because we couldn't.
Oh my God, the World Pass system, the freaking World Pass system.
That was pretty terrible. Yeah, because it put you on random worlds.
It did, and so we played together because we were all like we had like a LAN party or whatever, but we weren't in the same world, so we couldn't do anything
for a couple of years at least.
Well, so I mean, if 2 of you had been okay with starting over your characters, and the other could earn up some money for a world pass, but it was very clearly SE's first attempt at an MMO.
Or I think they did start to introduce world transfers after about 4 years.
Much later on.
Was it a lot later?
It was way later, yeah.
Okay.
We also all came from like Asheron's Call and EverQuest, so we were used to MMOs just being insane. So 11 didn't really hit us with that difficulty spike that it hit a lot of people, and so it was really nice to be like, oh cool, it's a new game, and it didn't feel that different than what we were already tolerating and dealing with.
Well, plus the fact that it had a good storyline to go with it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, the cutscenes, like I think for MMOs in particular, that was such a revolutionary thing, like the way they did them.
I watched a lot of friends play like EverQuest, and it was just it was so bare bones, and they'd be running and running and running and running, and they'd click, and their combat didn't seem very involved, and then they would do this other stuff. It just, I don't know why we sat there and watched them play this, but it didn't seem all that engaging. Then we get Final Fantasy XI, and it was a good storyline. You were reading all this text, and it just drew you in. And then you had to grind forever to do stuff.
We cast a spell a little bit late, and it hit at the end attack animation and did 3 times the amount of damage. And there was no documentation, there was no guides, there was no field listing of anything. Like, nothing like Gamer Escape existed back then. We had no idea what we had just done. So, of course, we spend the next 5 hours trying to, kill rabbits outside of Sandoria, trying to figure out how to magic burst again. And that was a lot of fun.
Well, you didn't then go to get Alakazam or one of those sites?
Oh my gosh, Alakazam.
Killing Ifrit or...
I used to be on Killing Ifrit.
I did notice in the 11 event, the crossover that's in 14 right now, they actually throw a one-liner in that I caught that I thought was hilarious. It was, I could stand in the sands and kill crabs all day.
Yeah. There's a minion that references that. Let me see. I believe it's the small shell.
Yeah, it's the small shell. I have it, and I saw that, and I remember when I got that quest, it was like, get these 3 items. One of them, and it was just this party of 6 or 8 people, and we'd run out, and it's like, oh, did you get your shell? Yeah, I'll hang out for a little bit and get somebody else theirs. Then 3 or 4 newbies would roll in, and a couple of the older people would drop out.
Yep.
And we'd add the new people, and this party just
the rolling shub job quest.
Yep. Crab Apron, Damselfly Worm, and Magic Skull, because no one ever did this, the Mora version.
Correct.
A lot of people didn't even know the Mora version existed.
Everybody did it in the dunes.
Yeah, I've got a lot of good memories for Final Fantasy. Like my ex-fiance playing Final Fantasy 1 on PSP for the first time and figuring out like some crazy broken amounts of damage that you can do with monks. Showing somebody the opera scene in 6 years ago, and then recently getting to show them a video of the opera of Maria and Draco from A Stage Reborn. Be like, hey, Dad, remember this from 20 years ago? It's still a thing.
Crazy stuff. Well, thank you so much for sharing with us, Talon. We do appreciate your all your support. You want to throw any shout outs out right away?
Shout outs to Emmy and Remix Sakura from Musecast for getting me into the RP community. Shout outs to FF14 worldwide meetups on Facebook. Join us there. I'm one of the admins, and we can hopefully meet people IRL.
Yeah, you sent us invites to that, so thank you for that.
Of course. Shout outs to my free company Unity for kind of keeping me grounded over the last year. Moving across an ocean, getting fired on my second day, and then having to come home and figure out my entire life from scratch again is difficult, and it was very nice to have my free company sort of there helping me stay together.
Well, thank you so much, and I gotta ask you, what was your take on the whole Kotaku thing?
Oh God, are we going there?
Yeah.
You say that one more time. You actually let go of your button like right before you said it.
What was your whole take on the whole Kotaku thing?
Sweet baby Jesus Almighty, why is this a thing that even exists?
You're not alone.
I worked at Nintendo. Kotaku is not a word that you use lightly in that building at all. Nobody likes Kotaku.
They're just digging themselves deeper and deeper and deeper. Well, thank you again. We really appreciate you stopping by, and thank you for sharing your favorite moment with us.
Of course, guys. Have an awesome show. I'll be sticking around. Thank you.
We appreciate that, and yeah, stick around, and yeah, make sure to listen and enjoy some of the other things that we're going to be talking about here in just a moment. Right.
Awesome. See you there.
See you guys. All right. So, if you guys want to call in too, feel free. You can just go to phoenixdownradio.com/discord and jump into the PDR call-in channel. It's down under the Phoenix Down Radio group. Or you can still, if you want to send us a tweet or just message us something within the Discord server, we can read it there as well. But let's start with Chili. Chili, what was your defining moment when it came to Final Fantasy?
For me, I guess it would be, it's my favorite moment has to be Fantasy 11.
Okay.
I ordered, because 7 was my first fantasy, because it was, our first Final Fantasy game. And then I enjoyed 8, 9, and then when I heard about 11, the fact it was online, I was really excited to play with other players. I upgraded my PC at the time because I knew we weren't getting the PS2 version here. So I imported from America on launch day, because I found that we had to wait a year nearly. And just the whole game, the whole experience. I remember the first day I actually didn't look at the controls because I'm a man who I don't look at menus.
Oh, chili.
So I shouted out, "How do I move forward?"
That's a question we all ask ourselves in life. Wait, what?
So yeah, I played that game for years and met. In fact, I still got a friend from the game, Arkasha. I played on the Ashura server. Yeah, just the whole thing, just exploring, meeting new people, really helped me become more social as a person. I was very sort of I was very much sort of I didn't really talk to a lot of people in real life, but
You
Final Fantasy 11 helped me.
Shy?
Yeah, I know.
What? No.
I know, shocker. But I was incredibly shy when I was at school, and even at college, Final Fantasy 11 really helped me sort of break out my shell and be a more sociable person.
No, that's cool. Thank you for sharing that
So
with
really,
us.
the whole game was my defining moment. It changed my life.
And now we've got you here. I mean, look how far you've come.
Yeah, poor you.
I mean, I guess, yeah, this fits a bit of a backslide, but what are you going to do?
Anyway.
Oh yeah, forward and back and then forward and back.
All right. We did get a few responses also on Discord. Start with Marcus Kyler. For me, it was Final Fantasy 1. I was probably around 9. Seems to be a common age. When I got it for the NES along with the Red Nintendo Power Strategy Guide. After that, I was hooked. When Final Fantasy 4 came out as FF2 in the US, I just had to have it. At the time, my grades were slipping and my mom would not get the game until I got them up. And that was the hardest I've actively worked at school ever to raise my grades and become a better student because of it. From then on, the rest is history. Final Fantasy is a series that I will purchase with a console for if it's the platform it's going to be on. Yeah, I can understand that as well.
Yeah. I feel a little awkward about it sometimes, but I know I've made my console decisions based on where do I expect it to start showing up next.
Yep.
Well, to be fair, that's the exact same reason why I buy Nintendo consoles. Oh look, new Pokemon's coming out. I'm buying that console.
Well, that's not. It hasn't made any jumps though, like Final Fantasy. Because Final Fantasy was on the Nintendo, and then the Super Nintendo, and then the PlayStation.
As well, I didn't really have that jump. So, but I bought the GameCube for the multiplayer one.
You were saying,
what
Seyrr?
would it take for Pokemon to jump consoles, I wonder?
Nintendo to stop making consoles. Being it's owned by Nintendo.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm by Game Freak, and Game Freak isn't owned by Nintendo.
Anyway, continuing on. Final Fantasy is... Okay, I made the switch to PlayStation when Final Fantasy VII came out and continue to support it to this day, being the only MMO series I've ever played regularly with both Final Fantasy XI and Final Fantasy XIV. So, Marcus, thank you so much for that message. I really appreciate hearing that.
Final Fantasy IX, Marcus. Remember?
That one was with a U.
Curses.
Yep, different Marcus. Seyrr, how about you?
Oh, so, I mean, I had a NES growing up when I was a little kid, but I never played Final Fantasy 1 on it. It was actually... I ended up getting a Super Nintendo back around the time when the N64 had come out, but none of the games really grabbed me. And I had been told that there were lots of amazing games on the SNES. And actually, one of the first games I got for it was Super Mario RPG, which I don't know how... I think a lot of people remember. I've heard people with fond memories for it. Really fun game. Took the characters I knew, had this really fun, interesting RPG thing. And... partly it was I enjoyed it so much I wanted to find other games like it, and that one was actually made as a joint venture between Nintendo and Squaresoft, because at the time Square and Enix were separate companies.
Yep.
And so between that and finding out that the bonus boss of that game was modeled after typical Final Fantasy games with the elemental crystals and all that, I got a little bit curious. Ended up going down to my video store back when video rental stores were also a thing. Yeah.
Damn.
And ended up finding Final Fantasy 2 and 3 there. And so rented those out over and over, played through them several times. And it just kind of went from there. Later on, as we got a home computer and I was learning about stuff with that, learned about emulation and downloaded and patched the ROM of FF5 to play a translated one, and felt like some kind of. I knew I was not actually an amazing hacker, but it still felt like wow, I could do this stuff and actually change the file into a thing I could play. This is amazing.
OMG, Seyrr hacks.
By the way, Seyrr, a little bit of an information. Super Mario RPG was never actually released in Europe.
Really? Oh my gosh, that's unfortunate. I would seek out like a ROM or something. Don't violate copyright, but yes, totally get a ROM.
Well, I think you can buy it on like the virtual consoles now. It's just that the original.
It was never physically released.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a really charming game in its own right. Definitely, I can see a lot of Square's fingerprints on it at this point. And it just kind of went from there. As I got a bit older, started actually having my own disposable income, starting like being able to get these games a little like when they actually came out instead of several years past, started following in the community. I guess for myself, the most affecting one is also FF11, just because I started that, back my junior year of college, and about 2 weeks into playing, I was playing as a thief. I'd actually read about the game, been curious about it. It had been out for a year by the time I finally went ahead and bought the bullet after looking at a whole bunch of sites, reading about these amazing relic weapons and all these involved quests and all these really cool looking things. Bought that PlayStation hard drive, was on Thief, was read about how leaping boots were this kind of amazing piece of gear.
Oh, God.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'll go and hunt the thing that drops them. And then I got to learn about notorious monster camping. And started having, like, just with the sheer boredom of it, started having silly conversations in Shout around the camping area.
That was the best part of the game.
Yeah. Actually made friends with someone on that who introduced me to a bunch of her friends, and a batch of people that I've known that I've been good friends with for, about 13 years now.
Wow.
So, like, lifelong friendships kind of thing.
Crazy.
Yeah. So, I think, and that's one of the trends I've noticed for at least a lot of the people who wrote in, and I'm wondering how common it is among the 14-player base as a whole. You have people who've been there since the NES and SNES days, and a lot of people who played 11 and developed a lot of really tight, close personal friendships through that. That's just something I'm seeing a lot of, and I can see why 14, with its kind of, hey, we're doing a little bit of theme park nostalgia trip through all the previous Final Fantasies, I can see why that would be especially appealing to them. It's kind of interesting.
Definitely. So cool. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And yeah, just all the various things, like when I saw the various summon monsters, was curious about where they were, would end up learning about world religions from that. Just the depth of references in them and the types of mythology and other things that they drew on ended up being this springboard to learn about all sorts of really cool real-life stuff. So I guess that's where the lore obsession started.
That's where he got obsessed. Oh, boy. All right.
They gave me so much fodder to work with.
Nice. All right. Kane Thorbreaker also wrote in on Discord, and I'll read what he said here. A lot of people starting with Final Fantasy 1, and that's awesome. Final Fantasy 1 on NES got me hooked on the genre. I played 2 on NES as well, which was a bad sequel. I didn't have an SNES, so I missed on 3, 4, 5, and Mystic Quest at the time, but still had a love for the JRPG genre, and floated around until much later with PS2. I was able to play Final Fantasy 7. And that's what reinvigorated the love for me ever since I played all FF with the exception of 11. I was against MMO at the time, but later got in and never looked back. Even went back and got 11 in case I decided to play while it's still live. My love for the series, I think, stems from the good versus evil aspect, in that the big bad is always more than the good, better at fighting better at everything, and the journey to better oneself and overcome sometimes impossible feeling odds is what it's all about. And through this love, I've met some wonderful people, some of which are hosting this show right now and some of which are listening to it. So, Kane, thank you. Appreciate that. And yeah, I can understand a lot of that as well. You know, I suppose it's my turn to tell a little bit about what got me involved with Final Fantasy. Sit back and relax. This is going to be a long one. I'm just kidding.
Let me get a pillow.
Yep, make sure it's
I have
comfy.
a nap. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Chili. Back in my day. No. So, back when I was a kid, I did get a Nintendo. And my first RPG game was actually Dragon Warrior. I don't remember if any of you are old enough to remember when Nintendo Power did their promotion where if you subscribe for 2 years, you actually got a copy of Dragon Warrior for free.
Wow.
Yeah. That was way back in the day. It must have been like 88, I suppose. 89. So I got that and I played that game and I really enjoyed it. So, I started looking for other games like that because at the time I was playing things like Mario and Zelda and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. Ooh, that was a fun game. But then I saw this other role-playing game called Final Fantasy. And I picked it up, because I like Dragon Warrior. And this, people were saying this is a fun-looking game. So I saved some money and I bought it. And we put it in and it was like, wow. This is a very different game from Dragon Warrior. A lot more in depth, and the battle system was a lot of fun. You actually got a whole different screen, and you had a lot of different weapons you can choose from. And it was the quests and the story was just really good, and I got hooked on it. But and then, like I said, the next thing I got a Game Boy, and I got some of the Final Fantasies on that. I don't know if you ever played the Game Boy Final Fantasies, Final Fantasy Legends and Final Fantasy Adventure.
I did.
Legends was quite the interesting game, where you could actually change some of your characters by eating meat,
Or like you could make them into robots or things like that.
really odd stuff.
That sounds amazing.
And then Final Fantasy Adventure was basically like a Link style game, a top-down adventure game, actually.
I mean, that was a Seiken Densetsu game. It just had the Final Fantasy name slapped on it, so it'd sell better here.
Yeah, but I mean, it was still a fun game. I enjoyed it. But
the Mana series.
yeah, and then the whole thing going back to Legend, Nick Nar saying, screwing up your build by eating that meat, but needing to eat the meat so you can finally evolve one of your monster characters into a Tiamat. You actually strengthen your characters, certain characters, by eating the meat of your enemies and evolving, which is kind of an interesting take on the game. But
I'm just reminded of the Futurama line about when you defeat one of your enemies, make sure to eat their heart to gain their courage, their delicious courage.
But then I went on a long hiatus with Final Fantasy because I never had a Super Nintendo and never had an N64. But then I got a PC, and I was able to get a PC copy of Final Fantasy VII. And my God, did I ever play the hell out of that. I remember, at the time I'd probably just graduated high school. And I remember going to work and then, working overnights. And then I would come home and I would spend, after working a 12-hour shift, I would play 8 to 10 hours of Final Fantasy VII. After that, it was like crazy. And
all right, Klaus, no lying. Did you cry when Eris died?
I don't remember. Honestly, I don't.
The
The
correct answer was yes.
I probably did, but I don't remember, honestly. But no, that was kind of a shocker to me when that happened.
Yeah.
But then I got introduced to the whole world of trainers. You know what I'm talking about, right, Seyrr?
Never used them, you dirty bastard.
Little programs you could use to tell the game that you had more money or more stats or something like that.
Or in the case of some people, put Eris back into their party.
Yeah, you could do a lot of weird stuff like that. But you had to be careful with it because it could screw up your save game. But anyway, so I got that, and then a couple of years later, when the PS2 came out, shortly after the PS2 came out, or right around the same time, was the release of Final Fantasy IX. So I had both of them pre-ordered, and I remember the day when GameStop called me and said, "Hey, yeah, your pre-order for Final Fantasy IX is in. Yeah, how about my PlayStation 2? No, I don't know. Well, I'll just have to wait till that gets in." And then they called me back a couple minutes later and said, "Oh, that's here too." So there we go. First game I got for my PS2 was a PS1 game.
I was about to ask about that.
What? But it was Final Fantasy.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And so I played that, and I was just, because I'd seen Final Fantasy VIII, and at the time I was totally against it. I mean, what the fuck were they thinking, going from the materia system that I just gotten done, messing with in Final Fantasy VII, and going to this junction card draw system in Final Fantasy VIII? I'm like, what the hell? And then they had another totally different new system in Final Fantasy IX, and I kind of got it. So,
I mean, that's always just been one of the hallmarks of the series, their willingness to try new systems to mess around with the established
formula. And at the time, I didn't get that, but after, getting exposed again to all these other games in the series, is like, it brought me back in, and I understood more about how they were going through it, because I was expecting more like the original Final Fantasy 1. And because reality, the battle system was kind of similar. It was, you would wait a little bit and you would feed your commands into it and you would go.
Right.
It wasn't until later ones, that they changed that significantly. But I liked the fact that they went from this dystopic, futuristic setting in 7, and then kind of a similar type of thing in 8, and went back to a kind of a classic medieval setting in 9. I loved that they brought back the crystal.
Mm-hmm.
That was just so much fun for me, and I played the hell through that. And then 10 came out for the PS2, and I was like, oh my god, this is beautiful. I mean,
oh god.
And, look back at it now, and it's kind of scary, but
yeah. But I mean, I remember those the FMV cutscenes and just how gorgeous the water looked.
Oh, it was just an amazing game. And I mean, I had to fight my roommates off so I could play it, because they were playing it just as much as I was. I mean, we had my PS2 going for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for probably about a month when Final Fantasy X came out. Because fortunately, we worked off hours. I would play it during the day, and then they would play it at night. So
sounds about right. Yeah.
But
I think I've said it before, but I do remember one guy in my dorms who leveled up an entire blitzball team to maximum.
Well, I did a lot of that too. I remember going after Brother specifically.
I miss being able to do grindy stuff to make yourself a bit overpowered. I remember in 7, I actually found a way to grind to get all the Omni Slash on disc 1.
I didn't go that far.
Patient enough.
I didn't go that far. Like I said, I was on PC, so it was very different.
I did get Skull's Ultimate Weapon on disc 1 as well.
Yeah, because with that one, if you could get the parts, the magazine would give you the upgrade recipe, but if you had the parts, it would let you do it.
Mm-hmm.
You could get all the parts by the time you just...
Yeah, I remember Escalia doing that on his live stream for the one charity match thing that he did. That was kind of cool. Anyway, continuing on. So we had 10, and then I was a part of, I don't know if you guys remember this, the Gamer Advisory Panel for PlayStation.
I do not remember that at all.
It was an invitation-only program that allowed people to beta test games. It was really cool, and I got an invitation to that. I was like, awesome, this is cool. So I got a bunch of these beta tests that I could try, and they asked me if I wanted to beta test Final Fantasy 11. So, of course I wanted to, because I love Final Fantasy. It's like, cool, how do I get into it? So then they sent me this big box, and in it was, in order to get into it, they said your PS2 had to have the network adapter. I'm like, okay, well, I buy all that stuff anyway, just because I'm a nerd like that. So I was able to check yes, and then got this big box.
Let's not make any bones about who we are.
We're geeks, total geeks. And had this big hard drive in it, and then the game. And so, we installed that in, got it all set up. And I was doing this through dial-up, mind you, because we had to connect online to play this Final Fantasy game. I'm like, huh, really? This is my first actual foray into an MMO. Mm-hmm. So I'm beta testing that, and I was just having so much fun. And it was, I brought up, of all classes, I think the first class I brought up was Warrior to start with. I don't know why, but that's what I did. I started with that. And then I found Red Mage. And I was like, yep, I'm going with that. And then once they said that everything was done, we had to send back our hard drives because they needed to go through and test everything. Now, I don't know if those of you familiar with the North American release of Final Fantasy XI. It was released in October of, 2004?
I want to say 2003 because I got it in
2003.
Yeah, I got it in 2004, and it was about a year old at that point.
But the PlayStation version did not come out until March of 2004.
Oh, right. There was that whole thing with the servers and
and just not having enough hard drives and things like that. So I'm like, sorry, PlayStation, I'm buying it for PC. So I did, and I got the early start, and I went in as Red Mage, and yes, so I was addicted to that. And for testing it on PlayStation 2, they did send me a free copy of the game and a hard drive. It's the only beta test I've ever done where I got a free copy of the game for testing it.
That is a little surprising.
It was very cool, and that was probably my coolest story of being a beta tester for Sony. But that was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Like, intellectually, I know 11 was pretty good, but in a lot of ways it was a flawed game. But then there's that, those memories.
Yeah, I'm like I said, I'm seeing it through those rose-tinted glasses, because I left. I would go for months at a time where I would not play the game because I was just getting sick of grinding so much. I only had one level 75 character, Red Mage, which I had plenty of level 42 sub-jobs. I had Black Mage, White Mage, Ninja, just because Red Mage Ninja was amazing for soloing.
Yep.
And all that fun stuff. But I was in a group that we would do some Sky and some Dynamis. I didn't get into C at all, but
guys, Faust is up.
But yeah, all that fun stuff. Yeah, we would sit there and spend hours upon hours trying to get the different pop items so we could then pop the minor gods, so then we could pop Kieran, blah, 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 blah. And, and then we would do our Dynamis runs and try and get our, it's my turn to get the hat this week. Yeah. I never got my hat.
Oh, God, someone I grabbed the auction house. Run away.
Gobby train incoming. Anyway.
And no one can use Crawler's Nest for the next hour.
But yeah, that was a thing.
Let's go to the secret room in Crawler's Nest.
Oh, the secret room in Crawler's Nest.
But then I came back after one of my hiatuses, and I wasn't on Midgard-Sormer anymore.
Oh, yeah, they did that server merge.
I was on Quetzalcoatl. All of my link pearls were broken.
Oh.
All of my friends were gone.
Harsh. There's a metaphor in here, but I don't care to explore too deeply for it.
And I had a hard time getting back into the game at that point. But fortunately, this was around 2009, 2010, somewhere in there. And Final Fantasy XIV was coming out. So I was able to make the jump to 14 1.0. Yeah. We all know what the shit show that was.
So how about those flawed games?
I played it for 3 months, and I regret not actually paying to play the game towards the end there, but I just let it go because it was just so bad.
I only played 14 during the 3 months.
Yeah, so did I.
I put the money in, but it was because I had a lot of faith in Yoshi P and wanted to see where he was going with this.
I didn't realize that he had even taken over or know what was going on. I left it in the dust. It was that bad. I mean, I was a diehard Final Fantasy person. I was playing, Final Fantasy 12. I got the Steelbook on that. I played that version, though I didn't finish it until 4 years ago. But
See, I was still a bit salty because when 14 released was not long after I lost my account for 11.
oh yeah, I remember
So
that
when
was a thing.
14 came out and had all those issues and the whole saltiness, that's what killed my interest in it.
Yeah. I mean, I played 13, 13.2, and 13.3 as well. I played all of those. But I just could not.
13.2 is the best one.
I liked 13.2.
It totally is.
Yes.
13.2 is goddamn amazing.
I'm so happy I've got the collector's edition.
Yep, I do too. The big, massive box. The only thing I hate about it is it doesn't match the rest of my boxes.
So,
But
got my Nino Kuni 14 one up there.
But so then, like I said, I didn't follow 14 after that. Was anxiously awaiting for 15. And I then was told by a coworker back in, must have been 2013, that they were going to be redoing Final Fantasy 14. And a beta test was going to be coming out. And I got into that. And I was hooked again. And then I
was very lucky to be in the closed alpha test for 2.0.
I didn't know anything about it because this was all, like I said, this is like June, I suppose, that I heard about this. So I was getting into the very end of it.
I think I was too. Like, I'm pretty sure the Legacy members all got in for that.
Yeah, they did. That's why it was supposed to be, and it was supposed to only be Legacy members ready for the closed alpha, which is why I was confused why I got in. It's like, but I'm not really. I didn't pay, but okay.
You're chilly, that's why. I mean, I might have been able to get into that because I did have a purchased copy of Final Fantasy 14 1.0. So, but then when I realized, or when I heard that they were giving away or allowing people who purchased a copy to play for free, I was in.
Yeah,
so I figured, give it a try.
Free is a good price.
Yep, and what can happen? If I don't like it, I'm not out anything additional. I already spent the $70 on the collector's edition for 1.0. Might as well try and get my money out of it and play it for a little while and see how it goes. And I've been hooked since. I mean, I got collector's editions for 3.0 and 4.0, and we created this podcast on it. And I mean, it's just, I've been a lifelong Final Fantasy fan because of that. I mean, I did go back and buy all the PlayStation versions of the Final Fantasy games. I have not played them all yet, but I do plan on it in the future. So,
in our copious spare time.
Yeah, because I have so much of it.
By the way, that free version of Final Fantasy started my train of Final Fantasy 14's buying 2 copies by accident trend for a while. Because I heard about the PS3 version, and I knew I'd bought it on PC originally, so I didn't think anything was going to be... So I bought the PS3 collector's edition. And then after I purchased that, I then got an email saying, "Oh, because you bought the PC collector's edition, you got all the stuff for free." I'm like, well, okay. And then I was then part of PSU. I was part of PSU then anyway, but someone else reviewed and then I reviewed Heaven's Ward. But the original review of 14 was going to review Heaven's Ward. So I pre-ordered the collector's edition. Well, the pre-order I did, you couldn't cancel the pre-order because I'd already paid. And just after I paid it, he said, "Oh, by the way, I'm not reviewing it. Do you want to review it instead?" So I ended up getting that. And then same with Stormblood. It's like I'm doomed to buy the same game twice. Forever.
Well, I've bought it twice too. Because I mean, I ended up buying a copy for PS3 so I could install it and then upgrade it to my PS4. And I bought a copy of Heaven's Word for my PS4 as well. And I'll probably end up buying a copy of Stormblood for it too, so I can, if I wanted to jump on for the PS4, I could.
Yeah, so, like I have just come to accept that yes, having the Final Fantasy name on something does drastically increase the chance that I will buy it. I am attempting to be a discriminating consumer, but yes, if you slap that name on it, I will pay more attention to it.
I mean, you guys
I will even spend more money on it.
I mean, you've seen my collection of plushies behind me, right? When I stream, and you may have seen my copy of all my strategy guides that I have for every Final Fantasy game.
I bought the freaking FF11 strategy.
I have that too.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It was a thing.
It was the fall 20 or 2004 version or something like that.
Yep.
Like it had label out suggesting they were going to continue to put them out for each thing.
And I was waiting for the next one, and it never came. But fortunately, we had Zam.
Yeah.
By the way, I remember paying £110 for the PC version of Final Fantasy 11 to import from North America. That would have been $200.
Damn, son. Well, we did that for Stormblood.
Yeah, I did it for 15 as well.
I didn't for 15.
I think
now.
I think at some point they were like, maybe the model does not work for this with regards to the strategy guide.
Yeah.
I should have just kept doing it like little mini guides.
No, but I have the collector's edition strategy guides for 12 and for all 13 games too.
I am still kind of grumpy. I am still grumpy about the FF9 strategy guide.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know, so Play Online, which eventually became the platform for 11, had just been put out at that time, and it was supposed to be like the central clearinghouse website for Square Enix stuff. And so they really wanted to. When did they stop being Squaresoft and start being Square Enix?
I want to say it was around the 9 frame. I think they were Square Enix at that time. I think. I'd have to Google it. But...
Yeah, but. So there were so many things where like they like mentioned that the side quests exist, or oh hey, there's a treasure that you'll want to find. It's like, and then for more information, go to the Play Online website and enter this keyword.
It looks like you're right. 2009, I think.
2009 is when the transition happened.
Yeah.
Wow, that's later than I thought.
The original Square Enix Co. was formed as a result of merger between Enix Corporation and Square in April 2003.
Okay, then.
Where did 2009 come from?
Yeah, it would be 2003. So it was with Final Fantasy 11.
Yeah. Oh, and now for some reason that's making me think of Valkyrie Profile. That was an NX game, though. Anyways. But yeah, no, like, and so it became this thing where when the website changed, went down, when all that stuff went down, that strategy guide became pretty much freaking worthless.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure somebody probably copied and pasted it somewhere else, but...
No, I mean, like, there's superior stuff available on GameFAQs at this point.
Yeah, I'm glad that became a thing, too. But yeah, that's basically my story with Final Fantasy. I told you it was going to be long.
Yes, this is your story, Titus.
Oh, wait, 2009 was the when they had Eidos, whatever it is. That's what I was looking at.
Yeah, they were one of the publishers with Final Fantasy VII as well, I believe.
Were they?
I think so.
Huh.
I think that's where a lot of the FMV sequences came from. Anyway, I could be wrong. But anyway, we also got some comments from the Facebook post / Twitter post that we made. So I'm going to read those as well. Or actually, Seyrr, why don't you go ahead and read those?
All right, then. Scroll down here. Here we are. So let's see. David Crow says that FF5 was the first I ever played, and it's still in my top FF titles. Probably why I love Deltascape so much. Favorite moment has to be when Terra in 6 realizes who she really is and who her parents are. Gets me every time when the Empire attacks. That was something, like, those simple little sprites on FF6 could be so expressive.
It's crazy.
Yeah, like, I still see games today, like I think Nipponichi does a lot of them, where they still use a lot of the sprite artwork just because there's certain stylistic things you can do with that you can't do with 3D models.
I'll read the next one because I actually know this guy. Shout out to Davey Holmquist here. He's actually also a part of the Hutchinson Pokemon group. So shout out Davey. Thank you for your answer here. My first was 1, but I fell in love with 8. I was in high school at the time and related to the game. I even had a semi-personality to Squall, trying to be the lone wolf and all. And then he also posted a picture of him with his Griever necklace. So,
I think a lot of people could relate to that. This person who's trying to put on this tough front, inside maybe a bit vulnerable, confused about what to do.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'll go talk to a wall then. And then Brian Rekis writes that FF4 is what hooked me. The Red Wing song is still to this day my favorite out of any FF game, with Answers coming up a close second.
Yeah, you know, talking about music in the game, there's just been so much iconic music throughout the 30-year history.
Mm-hmm.
It's just been amazing. And 14 has gotten to just take advantage of all of it. You know, and with, you know, getting to work with the original composer from Final Fantasy 1, Nobuo Uematsu, and then his junior, or, you know, the amazing now Soken, doing his thing with the stuff that he's been given to work with. It's just so much fun.
I have heard claim that Uematsu never really liked the whole, like, the crystal theme, like that little harp up down type. That he pretty much dashed that off as a placeholder for something and wanted to go back and put in something better later. But that the people were like, no, this is really good. We like that, and that he never really liked it.
I mean, I think I did watch a video on that, an interview that he did, and he was amazed at how iconic it ended up becoming. You know, once it expanded upon just the you know, the arpeggio in there, and the, you know, but
that's the term, arpeggio.
I think that's what it is.
That sounds right.
Well, if it's not, sorry to all the music majors out there. We're not perfect. We try to be, but we're not. That nice flowing melodic tone you get, this climbing up and then the going down, yeah. And then when it expands into the more melodic piece, is when it really gets me, because it just opens up and it's just an amazing sound. But the amount that it's been in every game, it really has. Mm-hmm. So it just has become an iconic piece to the series. If there's a game that doesn't have it in some way, shape, or form, I think we're going to riot.
And it's kind of amazing that all of this came from what was pretty much a, hey, this is going to be the last game we can afford to make. This one needs to work.
Well, yeah, that's crazy. Hence the name Final Fantasy.
Yep, they thought it was good. Like, this is our last game, just because, like, the studio was running out of money. Yeah,
I mean, they had to really try and convince them to allow them to print off an additional 200,000 copies of the ROM, because they wanted to make sure that they could get a sequel once it started selling. So
right,
it was pretty crazy. But that was a lot of fun, guys. I really had a good time talking about this, kind of going back and reminiscing about Final Fantasy.
I am so full of nostalgia right now.
You gonna cry?
A little. What are you gonna do about it, Jack?
No, that's awesome. But like I said, we're not gonna cap this. This is something we can talk about forever, going on and on and on. If you want to share on this, feel free to email us, podcast@phoenixdownradio.com. Share your thoughts out on Twitter, out on Facebook. Look for Phoenix Down Radio out there, and share your thoughts on what got you into Final Fantasy. You know, this is one of those games that is, you know, really been able to change itself and you know, go with the times, and it still is able to kind of get the core values that the players love.
I know for my part, I would be especially interested in hearing from people who started a little more recently, whose first one was on the PlayStation or PlayStation 2 or later.
Yeah,
like most
the
of the
younger generation, maybe.
Yeah, started either with FF1 or FF4 or 6 were most of what we heard. So I definitely like to hear some people who started a little later on.
I know there are a few of our podcast friends. I think Pete, this was his first Final Fantasy from She Heals I Tank.
That's kind of cool.
And he's doing a podcast on it too. So, so that says a lot about the game.
So has it led him to exploring the other parts of the series? That would be the question.
That I don't know yet. I guess I'm not 100% sure, but I know, like I said,
it'd be interesting to find out.
Maybe we can have him on and talk about it sometime. We have not had them on the show yet, have we?
There we go then.
Well, we can maybe make it a thing. If we haven't, If we haven't, and I don't remember, I'm sorry. It's just been one hell of a couple of weeks. So,
most wonderful time.
Shut up, Seyrr.
I have never sung that line without it being sarcastic.
It's too early for that shit. All right.
Hey, it's after Thanksgiving.
I don't care.
They were starting to advertise that stuff in
I
September
don't
here.
care. Scrooge says no. But what I say yes to is let's talk about some lore. We haven't had that in a while.
Huh.
So what do you have for us this week, Seyrr?
All right. Since it had been a while since I did any of the members of the 12, and I know we've wanted to round out that selection, today I thought I'd talk about Azeyma the Warden, the Keeper of the Sun. So she is the goddess of inquiry, in addition to being involved with the sun, and is associated with the Beladian civilization. For those of you who may have forgotten, Beladia was early 6th Astral Era civilization that eventually diverged into Ul'dah and Sildir. As Azeyma is also worshipped by the Seekers of the Sun, Mikote. She's the goddess of the sun. They are like worshipping with the sun, and so pretty easy there. A lot of you may remember the sunken temple of Karn. That appears to have been the main temple of Beladia, thus the main temple to Azeyma of that time. It's a fairly sophisticated building. The layout includes rose gardens. Those of you who do gardening may know that Azeyma roses are something that you can grow. Vaults, judgment chambers, and more. The final boss in Karn hard mode, the Vicegerent to the Warden, would have been the High Priest of Azeyma. So she's associated with the 9th month of the year and the element of fire. Both Beladia and then Ul'dah take fire aspected deities as their patrons, probably just as association with the heat of the desert. And she's usually depicted as a noble lady holding a golden fan. I know a lot of people think Warden Guardian, that's like, oh hey, knightly type with a shield, but Warden, it kind of has a little bit more of an administrative aspect to it. It's someone who's responsible, like they take responsibility for a place or a thing, for enforcing the laws around it, like a prison warden.
They're in charge of the prison. Yep, I was just going to say that.
Yep, or a game warden who takes charge of managing the hunting population of a particular area, enforcing the rules about how many animals can be hunted, things like that. Now, her symbol is the radiant sun, which some of our eagle-eyed observers may have noticed on that temple up in Azazla. There's a temple that actually to Sephiroth that the Alligans harpooned and hauled up there for study, and partly just to show that they can do it. And that is also covered with those radiant sun symbols. Now, this might be coincidence. Sephiroth is a tree god, and so you could see using the sun symbol for him for reasons that are completely unrelated. It could be a case of convergent evolution, but it does make me wonder if the symbols that we use, if they have some type of origin that came prior to the Mists of the 12, such that, hey, this was a commonly used symbol for the sun, and then it got applied to these different things. Now, within the relations of the 12, Azeyma is the daughter of Althik and Naimea, the god of time and the goddess of fate, and sibling to the moon goddess Menfina. After the establishment of fate and time, the sun and the moon being the first ones that come forth there. She eventually fell in love with Thaliak the sage, the god of rivers, and bore him 2 daughters, Limlaen, the navigator, the goddess of oceans, and Nofika, the matron, the goddess of life and fertility.
And boobs.
Yes, boobs and fertility are inextricably linked together. Not even sarcastic here. There's a lot of associations with the various natural forces there. The sun being tied into a lot of natural processes, the growth of plants, development of other types of life, the movements of the various waterways. So a lot of links in there. One thing that I think I remarked on with Menfina, and I'll bring it up again, having the sun deity and the moon deity be related, either as spouses or lovers or as siblings, is actually pretty typical in pretty much every mythology I've found. But it's unusual for both of them to be the same gender. In this case, both Azeyma and Menfina are female. Much more often, one of them is male and one is female, and you're having this kind of like male-female dichotomy as like contrast for the sun and the moon, for the whole day and night difference thing. So having both of them be female is a bit weird and unusual, and I'd be curious about how that came about. Now, Jumping to our real-world mythology links, and I'd like to thank Gamer Escape for the information that they provided on this. The name Azeyma actually comes from Arabic. It's a woman's name that comes from a word meaning protector. So Azeyma's role as a sun goddess and a protector seemed like the name itself seems to just come from this, really directly taken from this Arabic name. Her role seems to come a lot from the Egyptian goddesses Wadjet-Bast and Sekhmet. Both of those goddesses were protectors of regions of Egypt, and they were attendants to the sun god Amun-Ra, so they also took on a lot of these sun aspects. They also had associations with cats, which seems to tie in with that worship by the Mikote tribes. So, the actual role seems to have been lifted wholesale from Egyptian mythology, which again kind of fits in with the desert cultures that we see a lot of her usage in. Now, the Beladian architecture and that desert setting also seem to tie in with a lot of those Egyptian and those desert cultures. Actually, the fact that the Sunken Temple of Karn had those rose gardens reminded me a little bit of like the tales of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon and other similar types of things. But when we explore the Sunken Temple of Karn, it's kind of this classic image of the Lost Pharaoh's tomb, especially in hard mode, where you have all those various traps that have been activated, or the mummy's curses that get placed. So definitely a lot of evocation of that classic Egyptian mythology there. So let's see, other fun stuff. Back in 1.0, there was a faction called Azeyma's Shields. For those of you who may not remember or never knew about it, back in 1.0, whenever you did leaves, you would earn credits towards various factions, groups that were operating in Eorzea that had their own specialty faction leaves. And once you had earned enough credit with them, they would allow you to help them out with various missions.
God, I forgot about that.
Yep. The Horn in Hand was always my favorite. But Azeyma's Shields was one that focused on internal threats to the city-states, much like a warden who's supervising this area, focusing on maintaining what's going on inside it. And so rather than worrying about stuff like the Beast Tribes or the Garleans, back in 1.0, a lot of their leaves were about apprehending the members of an organized crime syndicate. And so when you took on those leaves, you would be tasked with hunting down specific wanted criminals, and it usually involved locating and defeating a single target. So Azeyma's Shields did seem to operate for maintaining law and order throughout Eorzea. It's not really clear whose authority they were acting under, since they were separate from the various forces that policed individual city-states, like the Wood Whalers or the Brass Blades. I have tried doing searches for the known members of it, the named ones of them. None of them show up in 14, or in A Realm Reborn and Beyond, so they may have been lost in the Calamity. The other interesting thing that we want to touch on when looking at Azeyma's role in 14 is Azim, the Azim Steppe, which we got to explore in Stormblood. So the Zayla tribes of the Aura worship Azim, the Dawnfather, and Nama, the Duskmother, who they believe are the progenitors of the Aura race. According to their legend, Azim and Nama created the Zayla and the Rayan, the Aura races, as proxy soldiers in a war over who should rule the world. Over time, the sub-races ceased their fighting, eventually began to live with each other in harmony, and at that point, Azim and Nama gave up their fight and returned to the heavens. In some versions of the story, they are lovers. There's lots of different versions of it, of course. But there's way too many parallels with Azeyma for me to write off as mere coincidence. The name is almost identical. You have this role as sun deity. Now, the analog to what the Eorzean beliefs about the 12, it's not quite perfect. So on the Azim Steppes in Othard, Nama is typically identified as a lover of Azim, where in Eorzea, Memphina, the moon deity, is Azeyma's sister. So they're siblings rather than lovers. I know there are some mythologies where various deities are both siblings and lovers, but there doesn't seem to be any hint of that in these ones, so we're going to leave that aside for the moment. We also do have the difference in genders, where Azim is male, but Azeyma is female. And Nama's name seems much closer to Naimea, the goddess of fate and weavers, where Menfina is our goddess of the moon. I did wonder about this a little bit. You have the goddess of the moon, but with the All-Ra, it seems to be a goddess of night and of dusk. And I'm wondering, is that an important difference where we have the sun and the moon versus dawn and dusk? Is it the celestial bodies versus just the kind of times of days? I don't know if maybe I'm reading too deeply into it, but it seems like there's something worth exploring in this. Now, before it was confirmed that All-Ra features, including like those scales and those horns, that they owe more to demonic void scent than to dragons in origin, there was a popular theory among the player base that Azeyma, as a deity of fire related to the dawn, actually owed his origins to Bahamut. Before his death and rise as a primal, Bahamut was known as the Dawn Worm. His lover Tiamat was the Dusk Worm. Now, it's been confirmed that the All-Ra themselves do not have draconic origins, but I do wonder if the myths that were passed down could have roots in the dragon. And if that were the case, then our beliefs in Azeyma could have branched off from the All-Ra traditions instead of the other way around. And really, this is something that I've been wrestling with a lot ever since we opened up Otharda and Hingashi in the Stormblood expansion. There's a lot of questions I have about Eorzea's history, and I really wish that my character could just find some scholars on the streets of Kugane and drag them off for some interrogation.
Oh my.
You've got these huge calamities that happened in Eorzea, that when we thought Eorzea was a world, it's like, yes, this is a worldwide calamity. This infected the entire world. But did they actually reach that far? Is there a record of the Great Flood that ended the Fifth Astral Era in Yangsha? Do they even recognize the same astral and umbral eras that we do? Is there Allagan influence in those regions? Just how far does the stuff reach? And if it's something that's a bit more limited in perspective, what does that say about the various deities that we have, about the other things that we believe in? I think a lot of us already are leaning towards the idea that the 12 were not necessarily deities on the level of Hydaelyn, but just notable people whose importance grew with the retelling, or names applied to other things like that. But it would be really nice to be able to explore this a bit further. Like, having Azeyma showing up as Azeyma in this foreign land, it really shakes a lot of the foundations of our assumptions about the 12 and their roles in our cosmology and our history. And yeah, that's about what I've got for her.
Very cool. I mean, since Stormblood came out and we saw that with the All-Ra, it was actually very cool to see the parallels that you could draw back and forth between the two sets of deities. And I'm wondering if we're going to see some more of that as we start to explore different areas of Hydaelyn.
I mean, even just in future patches in the areas we have, there's definitely room for development. There's an area on the Azeyma Steppe called the House of the Crooked Coin, that very bizarre architecture that has some interesting roles in the local customs that I think is just ripe for further development, and I would love to see what they do with that. Also, Heaven on High, that huge tower in the Ruby Sea, like that. Is that an Allagan space elevator? The sheer weight of that structure, how is it staying up?
Yeah, it's magic. You know, we haven't really heard much about the deities within Yangsha.
Yeah, like they've mostly talked about kami worship, but beyond that, there hasn't really been much theological exploration.
And that's mainly just the beast tribes that are doing that.
Well, no, you also, like, Gosetsu, for instance, also referred to the kami.
Well,
like, lots of Yangshins refer to the kami in various ways.
Okay.
But yeah, I feel like there's still a lot to be explored here that we're missing.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they bring about that. I know a lot of Final Fantasy games really like to tear down religion as the bad guy. They end up, the church or something along that lines becomes, something we have to fight against. But they're also throwing in these different belief systems that we can explore. And looking at the parallels to real life stuff, it's just so in depth and it's so much fun.
I'd like to add a caveat to that. It's usually not that religion itself they specifically tear down, but a lot of organized religion. So, like, religion, a lot of these
I thought that's what I said, organized, but that's what I meant to say.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, a lot of those beliefs, they have power behind them, and you have people who are seeing this and using that power for their own ends. And it seems to be less of an issue that they have with the power and more how the people choose to use it.
Yeah, it's not the beliefs, it's the structure that's formed from them.
Yep, and the people who take advantage of that structure to wield power over others.
I mean,
because there are definitely religions that get a much friendlier treatment in various Square games.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I'm saying, though.
Yep.
But, I mean, it's also the same thing with corporations. Look at Shinra Corp.
Yeah, definitely the same kind of idea where you have this group of people who, providing something that they want, acquired this power and the abuse of that power.
And even look at, in a certain way, you can look at Seeds in 8. There was weird things going on with that, too.
Yeah, and that also gets into, like, Seeds has a lot of interesting stuff for, like, the entire idea of child and teen soldiers. Like, I've always thought it's weird that you have these people fighting these gruesome battles that the manual says it's like, oh yeah, they're 18 or they're 20. And it's like, the old man is 40. It's like, do you know what this type of thing does to their psyche? Yeah. And 8 a little bit says, yeah, here's what it does.
Yeah.
8 is all about how messed up it is to be a child soldier.
All right. Well, thank you so much for that. I'm sure you've been working on keeping the list of who we have yet to do, correct?
Yep, we've got about 3 more.
Wonderful. And then we can, like I say, if we, hit that level in Patreon, we can look at taking all of these segments and putting them off in their own special thing. So, if you really want to support the podcast, that's one way to do it. And we can definitely try to do things to make it worth the while. So, if you're interested, look for that. So.
And if you've got questions, if you've got lore topics, ask away. Let me know what it is you want to hear about. I want to talk about things that people want to hear, like having an audience that's getting excited, that's asking questions, that's seeming really into it. Nothing motivates me as much as that.
Yep, we've got a special channel right just for that, the Lorebrary on the Phoenix Down Radio Discord server. So. If you're not a part of it, I do strongly suggest that you click on that link. And even if you don't want to use it as a voice chat, you can definitely use it as a text chat and talk with us, talk with Seyrr, talk with other players and exchange ideas. It's a lot of fun seeing the interactions we're getting.
Ask me your questions. Distract me from my life.
Yeah, especially his work.
Work's not too bad.
No. So we went through all of our emails and comments during the discussion topic, so we don't have anything else to talk about there. So why don't we just jump right into those shout-outs? Who wants to start?
You go for it, Chili. I'm still trying to figure that out.
I'm always first.
Because we know you have a ton of them.
Yeah, it gives me time to think.
Okay, I'd like to shout out to Evolved Mail, aka Girlfriend's favourite streamer at twitch.tv/Evolved Mail.
He's been streaming again.
I know, he's streaming Overwatch. Shout out. What's up?
I was going to say, he hasn't done a ton with Final Fantasy 14 lately, though, has he?
He's left. He's pretty much left.
He's done? He's done with Pug Life?
Yeah, he's done with the Pug Life.
Pug Life is dead! Still
shout out anyway. Shout out to Limit Break Radio. They did that amazing interview recently, which you should check out at Checkpoint Radio.
Yeah, with Arnie Roth, I believe, correct?
Yep. Shout out to Kane. Thanks for joining us. Shout out to everyone who submitted stuff today. For today's show. Thank you so much.
And how can they find you?
You can find me at Chili UK on Twitter.
All right. Go ahead.
Other places.
Like?
You can contact me at ben.shillabithall@psu.com as well if you want to contact me.
Speaking of that, I'm amazed at how many of the other podcasters didn't realize that was you. I'm serious. I listened to all the podcasts. Everybody read about the interview, and it said it was by Ben Shillabithall at PSU. Nobody said that it was you. I think maybe at the end, Pete and Avi recognized that it was you, but...
I said it because I said it in the chat.
Yeah, that's probably the only reason why.
But it's this Ben Shillabithall. Aha, it's like I can run off with my little mustache and go, yeah! Now nobody will catch me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Seyrr.
All right. So shout out to Aurora Fenrir for inviting me to your wedding this afternoon. Absolutely lovely again. Thank you for having me there. I'm so happy. It's so pretty. The weddings are just so adorable. I love them. Shout out to Allard Barros and Magnus Aurelion from my link shell for providing conversation and duty roulettes when I was trying to get poetics for all of those various zodiacs. Shout out to my dad for, again, yes, hi, Dad. He's like in the chair right over there, for letting me bounce ideas off about the lore segment. They say hi.
Hi.
And just shout out to everyone watching, everyone listening, for giving me the reason to do all this. I love you guys, like platonically.
Are you sure?
Let's not make it weird.
Okay, dang it. And how can they get a hold of you?
And so you can find me on Twitter at FFXIV Seyrr, Seyrr. I occasionally say things. I don't know how much of it's relevant, but I don't know. People haven't stopped following me.
Nick Nar says it's too late. It's already weird.
And the heck? My headphones just cut out. There we are. Okay, we're good.
I said Nick Nar said it's too late. It's already weird.
Yeah, but there's like weird and then there's weird. Ask your mom. She totally got the weird stuff.
That's what she said last night.
Exactly.
He gets
like,
it.
we have empirically demonstrated that she gets these things.
Shout out to Luna. Sorry you're not feeling well. We hope you feel better and can join us on the next episode. Shout out to my wonderful co-hosts, Seyrr and Chili, for helping put this together. Shout out to everybody who emailed and wrote in on Twitter, Discord, Facebook, wherever you wrote in about your experiences with Final Fantasy. I loved reading those and talking about them today. So thank you so much to Mithrin Scarlet. Thank you, Kane. Thank you. I'm scrolling all the way back up. Thank you, Marcus, Kyler. Thank you, David Crow, Davey Holmquist, Brian Rekus. Wonderful time. And also thank you so much to Tala's Marvelous, aka Votalison. And we hate you for being over in Japan, but no, have an awesome time, and thank you so much for your thoughts. And then shout out as well to everybody watching us live here at twitch.tv/Phoenix Down Radio and listening to the podcast on your favorite podcatcher, whether that's iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn, or wherever you listen to us. That's going to do it for this show. I suppose to say you can reach me at phxdn_Klaus on Twitter if you want to. So you can check out our website at www.phoenixdownradio.com. You can check out all of our videos out on YouTube, youtube.com/PhoenixDownRadio. Actually, it's be anything /PhoenixDownRadio to find us, whether it's Twitch, whether it's Facebook, so you can find us all out there if you want to check us out on the social medias. Like I said, that will do it for this episode. If you like what you heard, please make sure to like, subscribe, or follow us on your favorite podcatcher. It makes finding us a lot easier. And leave us a rating or review because we like to see those. And if we get new ones, we'll read them, because it's cool. We love hearing what you guys think about us. We want to know if we're doing a good job. We want to know what we can improve on. We don't know that until you tell us. If you're really digging the show, please consider becoming a subscriber here at Twitch, or you can become a patron at patreon.com/PhoenixDownRadio. Like I said, we have those tiers of support where if we get up to the first tier, I believe it's $250, we will take all of Seyrr's lore segments and we will create our own special little podcast for those, so you guys can listen to just the lore of Final Fantasy and Seyrr's lovely voice, and it'll be just amazing. So if you really want to support the show, that's a great way to do it. All the proceeds we get go towards growing the show and cover things like hosting costs, allow us to do fun giveaways, and supporter-only incentives and things like that. So it's a great way to let us know what you really think of us. But any kind of support, whether it's likes, emails, tweets, follows, or whatever, it's always greatly appreciated because we love working with you guys and we love interacting with the rest of the community. So for my co-hosts, Seyrr Timono, and for Chili, I am Klaus Nightbringer, wishing everybody a wonderful weekend. I'm glad you guys all survived your Thanksgiving, and we will see you next time. Take care.
Phoenix Down Radio is a production of PhoenixDownRadio.com and Illusion Productions. Final Fantasy XIV and Eorzea are trademarks of Square Enix. In-game content for Phoenix Down Radio is the copyright of Square Enix. Opening music for Phoenix Down Radio is provided by Guilty Gear Rock You. Check out the Metal Chocobo theme cover and many other music videos at youtube.com/Guilty Gear Rock You. Closing music for this episode is provided by Guitar Wanker 90. Please check out their full version of Matoya's Cave and other rock video game covers at youtube.com/Guitar Wanker 90. The views and opinions expressed in this episode are those of Phoenix Down Radio and its hosts and do not reflect the views of Square Enix.